Hi, my name is Kira, and today I'm going to be reading a new series called Boxcar to Nowhere. This is the first book. Chapter 1, Breakfast in a Hurry. Hope could feel her father's warm breath against her cheek and realized that he was whispering and gently shaking her shoulder. "Wake up, my sweet Hope," he said. "Gotta get up early today because I've got to go in pretty soon." Hope rubbed her eyes with her fists and slowly sat up, looking around. "Hi, Pop," she mumbled. While speaking, she looked down at the floor beside her bed, expecting the big dog to be looking back. He wasn't there. "Where's Jazzy?" "Oh, I let him out when I came up. He'll be back in the kitchen when you come down. I put breakfast on the table for you, so there's only getting your drink for you to do. I'll call you later and check in." "Wait, Pop," she said, realizing what he just said. "You mean you're going to work this early?" "Sure I am. Where else would I go and leave you alone?" Pop laughed and kissed her cheek briefly before standing erect. Hope noticed that his policeman hat was already on his head, and his badge hung over his left shoulder, was shining in the morning sun. "Can you tell me why?" Hope asked. "Oh, some guy broke out of jail, and they think they have him cornered somewhere near the rail yards. They need a lot of us to cover that area so we can't get away." Hope nodded and slid off the bed, thinking about what she could wear. "Well, goodbye, my girl," Pop said, turning to leave her bedroom. "Love ya." Pop glanced over his shoulder at her and winked, then ambled off. "Love you too," Hope yelled as he disappeared. She heard his footsteps on the stairs, and then the outside door closed behind him. Hope sat back down on the bed and tried to think about today. Her plans had been changed with Pop gone. She stood again and started dressing while thinking about Jazzy. Where was he? Did he get back inside? Out of the corner of her eye, she caught some movement near the door and looked that way. Jazzy was looking directly at her, a smile on his face as he made his way to her side. After touching her leg with his muzzle, he sat down and looked silently at her face, intense love written all over him. Hope reached down and stroked his big head and felt him push up against her hand as if to stroke back. At least big old Jazzy was there, always and forever. He was hers, completely, and he was the one who decided that it should be so. "I assume that you haven't been fed yet," Hope said aloud. "And you want to have your breakfast when I have mine? Isn't that so?" Jazzy was born in Germany, bred for his existence as a Schutzhund, the German equivalent of an American military canine. Most German Shepherds are a bit intimidating to people not used to them, but Jazzy was especially so with his large head, his penetrating dark eyes, and his molted black coat. All Jazzy had to do was intently stare at someone for them to want to back away quietly. But none of Hope's friends had ever had the treatment. Jazzy ignored them, tolerated their touching and patting him, and in general made himself scarce. He was always there though, the big eyes on the love of his life, his ears following her every utterance. It didn't take long for Hope to realize his intelligence and his comprehension for her speech or her wants. He seemed to always know what she intended, even on occasion before she thought of it herself. Seeing his face when she left for school made her understand the agony Jazzy was experiencing, watching her leave the house without him beside her. She would often bend down and stroke his neck, putting her cheek against his and telling him that she loved him. Jazzy didn't need to speak to tell her that he felt the same way. It was in his eyes. They started breakfast across the room from one another, each frequently glancing at each other, assuring themselves that they were both safe and together. Hope looked longingly out the window and sighed, because the outing she planned with her father was now just evaporated plans. Given up because of a call to duty, Hope sighed again, this time with more conviction. and let her shoulders sag a bit. She felt Jazzy's nose before she realized that he had come over to her and was pushing his head into her lap. He held his position and looked up at her, as if asking what he could do to make her happy. "Oh, Jazzy, what would I do without you?" Hope said as she stroked his head, pushing his ears backward with her hand. A bell rang and Jazzy jerked his head around to confront whomever or whatever made the sound. "It's just the front doorbell, Jazzy," Hope explained, and then got up and headed that way, Jazzy right by her side. Hope opened the door as Jazzy's nose and head pushed into the opening. A police officer was standing there smiling broadly. "Hi," he offered, while glancing nervously at Jazzy, who was now between Hope and this interloper, looking silently at his face. "You are Hope, I am informed," he said, "and this is the famous Jazzy." It was more of a fact than a question. Dave looked her over while waiting for her answer. She was in her mid-teens, probably about the 10th grade or so, and lovely beyond words. He had no idea that old Gabe Barrows had raised such a beauty, and all by himself. Hope was wearing a white, fashionable summer button-up sweater, and her blonde hair was pulled back into a ponytail. She fixed him with her clear blue eyes before responding. Hope nodded that it was true, but was reluctant to say more. She started thinking ahead, and the first thing that popped into her mind was that something had happened to her father. "I should explain," the policeman said. "Sergeant Barrows, your dad, asked me to come over here and bring Jazzy back to the search area. He said that Jazzy would help us find the fugitives. I should tell you that I am a certified police dog handler and will be responsible for Jazzy, and you can call me Dave. Everybody else does." He smiled and from somewhere produced a dog collar and leash that he held in view. "I don't think that will work, Dave," Hope informed him. "Jazzy is retired and now is my dog." "Yes, I was told that, but your dad said that it would only be for this morning, and then we'll return him to you with our thanks. I've heard that your dog is the best tracker around," and he trailed off as he looked at Jazzy. Something had changed, and he knew enough about dogs to understand when he was being threatened. Hope glanced down and saw what was happening. She put her hand on Jazzy's nose and patted it gently. "You can tell that this dog is not going anywhere without me, can't you?" "I can for sure see that," he answered. "But your dad said," he stammered, not knowing how to handle this situation. He could see that it would be dangerous to attempt to collar this particular dog without his consent. "We'll both go with you. Will that be okay?" Hope suggested, then smiled, knowing this was the only way that they were going to get Jazzy to work with them. At least she would get a first-hand look at police work. This was going to be an exciting day.